This is Locked On Bets, the daily betting show that means business from the Locked On Podcast Network. Hosted by Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers, they're dropping fearless picks with an inside edge to put money in your pocket. If there's action, they've got the lock. This is where smart bets start. It's Locked On Bets.
Welcome to the Thursday edition of Locked On Bets. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. And as always, we appreciate you making Locked On Bets your first listen of the day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. And we got a lot to get to. We'll break down the Monday night showdown in Baltimore between the Lions and the Ravens. Also, we have a couple college football picks. Even we're throwing a baseball prop today as well. So busy show. So Lee, let's get right to it with the Gators and the Canes.
What the fuck? WTF.
Doesn't happen often, but the Florida Gators heading down to South Florida as they're finishing up their home-and-home set with the Hurricanes. Last year, Cam Ward went into Gainesville and diced up the Gators, and now Florida comes down here after back-to-back losses to USF and LSU. The Canes are undefeated. Lee, the Canes are favored at home. What are your thoughts here with UM and UF?
So what's interesting, I've probably gotten more texts and emails from friends, clients, like, why are they doing game day where Miami, who, like I said, top five, I think they're fourth in the ratings right now, is playing a team that's not even ranked? Well, I don't know if you even know this. Do you know that I believe, I'm not 100% sure, probably about 98% sure, the highest rated game day was in 2017 when Miami played Notre Dame, when they had it in Miami? Did you know that, Kevin?
I did not know that. And just a quick note here. I saw there were complaints about it being down in South Florida. And they said, oh, it could have had Indiana, Illinois. Nobody who cares about, like, nobody nationally wants to see that. I don't care if the Gators are unranked. Miami and Florida is way more intriguing than some of the other matchups that people were talking about where to put game day. That's just my thoughts on that. So continue.
Okay. Good point. And I obviously, it's perfect if you do it like a month later or maybe 6 or 8 weeks later. Why do I say that? Believe the reason that it was the highest rated game day ever was, I think it was the first week in November, and there was two separate cold fronts in the Midwest and in the East. And I mean, where it was like single digits. So everyone's stuck indoors. And what did Miami do? They held it at the university, not at the field. Because the field is, 20 miles away, Hard Rock Stadium, and people aren't going to show up. I don't think they only allow the tailgating started like something like 6 hours before the game, and it's a night game on Saturday night. They held it right next to the aquatic center where they had the divers diving, the swimmers practicing, and behind them a lake. And I've never seen these boats before. I'm a Miami alum, and so is my daughter. They had 3 sailboats. 3 with UM painted on the masts and the sails, 3 UM sailboats, small, tiny sailboats, just going around this pond. And I mean, it was so good. I think Miami, I know they had a huge jump when they won the 83 national title. That year was their biggest jump in people applying to the school. But the most in one day was that Monday, people applying early November. They wanted to go to Miami, and why not? So just a little background to what people will see when they watch game day. Now, I think that Miami's really good. Do I think they're the best team in the country? Probably not, but they deserve right now to be in the top 5. Why? Offensive line, dominating. They mash you. They're protecting the quarterback, and they're going to have some success against Florida. Now, Florida lost 20-10. If you didn't watch the game, you're like, oh, okay, they didn't quite compete. Well, they did compete. In fact, I thought they were the better team except for the interceptions. DJ Lagway had 5 interceptions, and at least 4 of the 5 were his fault. So one of the biggest problems is the right tackle. This guy is like a turnstile. He'd probably be better off laying down. He'd stop more guys if you watched him Saturday night against LSU. Miami defensive edge rushers are really good. So what I think is going to happen, Florida's going to say, we can't do these 7-step drops anymore. We are going to put DJ in 3- and 5-step drops. We're going to try to limit, obviously, his turnovers and play a more conservative game plan. But maybe they show a trick play or two. I know, being a Florida State alum, you've seen Florida State do this. They would run to one side on the kickoff and throw it back to Dexter Carter. You remember that play, right, Kevin?
I mean, that was a long time ago, but yeah.
But I think Florida is going to empty the tank here. They have nothing to lose, the coaching staff, and they want to make it fun for these kids. And if they can get on top, probably can play with Miami. So Miami has given up some big plays. Their secondary right now, just a little above average. The reason they're going to be good is if they have a pass rush. But this is a rivalry game. The line is 7.5. There's going to be 18, 20,000 Florida fans out of the 65,000. The place is going to be rocking, but it can't be any tougher, even close to as tough as playing at LSU. I think 7.5 is too much here. The back door is open. Let's say Miami's up by 10, 12, 13 points. Well, you know what? They'll play a prevent defense with 4 or 5 minutes to go and probably allow a touchdown. Or, could be tight. 3, 4, 5, 6 points. Either way, I'm taking the 7.5. I think Miami wins. I'm going to say 28-24, but Florida gets the cover.
Well, the other thing, too, Lee, is that Miami caught USF in a tough spot last week. That USF was off 2 big wins, winning in Gainesville in the final seconds the week before. So Miami took care of a team that was they felt pretty good about themselves, where Florida is desperate. And they did have a long touchdown pass called back last week due to a holding. Like, they had their opportunities in that game against a really good LSU team, and they couldn't close out. And again, too, I think that the factor of them just getting embarrassed in week 1 against Miami last year when Cam Ward did what he did against the Gators, there's got to be a lot of motivation for this team that, if Florida loses, one thing, but if they get blown out, like, this is Billy's done. Like, I think Billy knows he's almost done, but if they could grab this win, now you're 2-2. Now you feel good about yourself once the SEC schedule resumes.
Yeah, I agree. So going to be fun. It's a huge rivalry game. So many alumni for Florida in the South Florida neighborhood. So fun rivalry, like, Florida and Florida State. Well, that's more bitter, but Miami and Florida State, the 3 schools have had, great runs at certain periods, and they're fans. They expect greatness. So should be fun.
Just want to shift to the NFL tonight. We don't have a pick on the game here on the show, but just your thoughts with the Dolphins and the Bills kicking off week 3, and the Dolphins, desperate team, 0-2, played better against the Patriots than they did in week 1 against the Colts. But Josh Allen, I think it's 12-2 is the number. His record against the Dolphins in his career, he's totally dominated them. And again, I don't want to say last stand for Mike McDaniel, but this Dolphin team, short week, tough spot going to Buffalo. They're a double-digit dog. Do you think they have any chance of hanging around here tonight?
Hang around, maybe. Win the game, probably not. I hate some of these games. They could be up 14, 17 points, and Miami has the ball in garbage time. So I think Miami actually might be able to run some on them. They've had some success. Buffalo's run defense has been horrendous this year. I think giving up like 6-point-something yards per carry, 6.8, something crazy number. They'll tighten it down a little bit. They've had some injuries and played some really good teams, and also some quarterbacks, obviously, in Lamar Jackson that run when they drop back to pass, and that counts against your rushing yards. So Buffalo clearly is the best team. If Miami loses bad, if they lose by 20 or more points, I think if Stephen Ross doesn't fire this clown crew as far as the GM, Chris Greer and McDaniel, then I'm shocked. I think that South Florida will be up in arms. So, I mean, it's just not happening. They've certainly regressed. So, not doing the job.
Well, and also, too, going into last week, if they would have beat the Patriots, you count the Bills game as a loss, and the Jets, you probably have a shot to beat. You could be 2 with everything going on. They could have been 2-2. There was a chance they could have been 2-2. Now you're 0-2, staring at 0-3, and then who knows what happens next week. So really, you can kind of flush the season down the toilet. Coming up, we still have plenty more to get to. College football game, a hidden gem. Also, Major League Baseball with Aaron Judge. We're going to go over a prop for him. And Monday Night Football with the Lions and the Ravens. All of that is straight ahead. You're listening to Locked On Bets. All right, let's talk now about FanDuel, and we begin week 3 of the NFL tonight with the Dolphins and the Bills. The NFL season, of course, is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, and so many great choices in the NFL. Loaded card on Sunday. You have so many sides, totals, money lines to bet on. You have Cowboys, Bears as the prime game in the afternoon. Chiefs and Giants both at 0-2. We'll see if you can get their first win between them. Lions, Ravens Monday night. And you have all the games to choose from. Player props, also futures as well. Josh Allen, he's the favorite to win MVP. Bills and Ravens are two of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. You can bet on all of that now. Get some good value while you can before the numbers dip as the season goes along. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. We continue Locked On Bets here on a Thursday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. And Lee, now it is time for our favorite segment of the day. It's Hidden Gem.
To find a diamond in the rough, you need to dig a little deeper for those hidden gems.
I'm sure you could probably figure out who I like in this game, Georgia State and Vandy. I'm wearing the Georgia State blue today. All right, this is what I'm going with. Georgia State, Lee, plus the 27.5 against Vanderbilt. Last year, Georgia State beat Vanderbilt at home, 36-32. I guarantee you Clark Lee's getting them off the schedule as soon as possible. But 36-32 win for the Panthers over the Commodores. 8.5-point dogs last year, now up to 27.5. I don't like the revenge angle saying Vandy's just going to blow them out because they lost to them last year. Also, the reason why I like fading Vandy here, you're off 2 big underdog wins. I know Virginia Tech's an absolute mess, but you still were a dog in that game. You beat them on the road, beat South Carolina on the road to get your first SEC win. Not really a look-ahead spot because they have Utah State next week at home, so really, and they have Alabama after that on the road. You better believe Alabama has that one circled. But also, Vandy, the last 3 seasons against FBS opponents, 0-4 against the spread in the favorite role. So let's go with Georgia State here, ton of points. I think that they can find a way to get the cover here against Vanderbilt.
Do we hold our nose when we're watching this game, Kevin?
I mean, just don't watch the game. Just check the score out.
You watch the clock a lot, I'm sure. You're like, he stayed in bounds. Do you ever do that when you're watching games?
Absolutely. Yeah. Go. I had that in the Cowboys-Giants game the other day that make a stop. Right. And
then another interesting side plot to this game. The quarterback for Georgia State is TJ Finley, who has been at least 5, maybe 6 schools. He was in the portal this year, and after one game, Georgia State plucked him out of the portal and said, hey, come help us out. We need a quarterback. And I think 3 or 4 days later, he started. So he must have known the system and played with the offensive coordinator somewhere down the road. So one of his 5 previous stops. So kid at one point was well thought of. I mean, played and started games at LSU and Auburn and had a really great year at my alma mater, Texas State. But then for some reason he moves. He left Texas State. They had the same head coach. I don't know if they had the same coordinator, but he leaves and goes to Western Kentucky. Doesn't even really play there. And, so sometimes the grass isn't greener. So he's gone, from the highest of highs in the SEC to 2 good schools to Texas State, then to Western Kentucky, and now he's
now at Georgia State. So we'll see what he does here moving forward, again, as nearly 4 touchdown underdogs against Vanderbilt, who's been really good. Like, we can't take away from Vanderbilt. I just think the spot isn't great for the Commodore. That's what, honestly, I feel like that's the way it is with some of these, I want to say subpar SEC teams, but not the Alabamas and Georgias, but these other middle of the road teams when they're off a big game. Now you're just showing up. This is a game where let's get through this, move on to the next week. And
look at Auburn last week. Auburn, was preparing for a big game this week. They were off, a couple weeks ago, a big game at Baylor. Do you think when they're watching film, so I've been in film rooms before, and good teams are watching films. If you see a team like Georgia State, you're like, really? We can win this game. This is like going out for a Saturday scrimmage in the middle of August. So, you have to factor that in. It's a big, big component. They're going to score. They're going to win the game. Georgia State's not beating them, but that's a lot of points. I mean, Vandy's good, but they're not that good yet.
Well, and also, too, one other note before we move on, that they did play Ole Miss already, lost by 56 points, and they lost at home to Memphis by 22. If in some of those games they were closer, and I saw this line, I'd be like, well, maybe it tells you something that Vandy's the play, but because they've been blown out, people are like, oh, well, they stink, and Vandy should show up, especially in a revenge spot. But Georgia State's got to have a little bit of confidence saying, hey, we beat these guys last year. So, now we're getting a ton of points. So we'll see what happens now going on the road. Let's shift over to baseball now, Lee, and 10 games of Major League Baseball. Yankees and Orioles coming up tonight at Camden Yards, and big game for, obviously, Aaron Judge trying to help solidify his MVP status. So now it's time for our blowout special.
Oh, boy. Last one out, turn off the lights. This one's a blowout.
Yankees-Orioles tonight in Baltimore, and Aaron Judge. Again, Cal Raleigh's hot on his heels right now for the MVP, but Judge still having a fantastic season. Lee, what do you like with Aaron Judge and his basis prop tonight?
So who do you think is going to win it if they voted right now, Kevin?
I honestly think it should be Cal Raleigh.
That's right.
I think Cal Raleigh, and it's not – Aaron Judge's numbers are tremendous. Nobody can take that away. But if Seattle ends up winning the West – I got to say it's Cal Raleigh because of playing in the catcher's position. And they say he has the most home runs ever by a catcher. I think most home runs ever by a switch hitter in a season. And what Seattle has done, if they end up winning this division, Yankees want to be a division winner when it's all said and done. So I got to think Raleigh gets it, but I know he's not the favorite right now. We'll see how the voters vote.
And also the position he plays.
He's involved in every play. Yeah.
The greats, Johnny Bench, He didn't hit anywhere close to this amount of home runs. So Aaron Judge has kind of been under the radar. How about this? Been on fire so far in the month of September, hitting .383 with 5 home runs. He has only 2 at-bats against the pitcher tonight, Cade Povich. Both at-bats, home runs. So he gets some really good wood on the ball when he plays against this pitcher. Povich's numbers are terrible at home, believe it or not. Worse at home than they are on the road. And great hitting weather. Talked about that many times. You want balls that are going to take off. And one on our player prop. And last night, some balls were really exploding off the bat in that game. So we're going to go with Aaron Judge here over 1.5 total bases, -125 blowout special.
And the Yankees, I feel like they haven't played the Orioles in a long time, and now they get them again. And Yankees, we'll see them in the playoffs. They're not going to be able to catch Toronto, and Boston's still playing well. But look, you can have 2 great players and just one wins the MVP. Like, just because one doesn't win it doesn't mean they're not good. Like, it can't just be one guy's the MVP and everybody else stinks. Like, you could have 2 guys with great seasons. But again, with Cal Raleigh, what he's doing, it's hard to ignore it. I just think it's hard to ignore what he's doing, and especially with a team that's going to be in the playoffs. If he was doing all of this, Lee, on a team that was 81-81, no, you don't win it. But to help this team possibly win the division, I got to think that he wins it.
Yeah, I agree.
But that's me, and I don't vote, so it's not my choice. All right, coming up, we will stay in Baltimore, this time for football. Ravens and the Lions. We'll look at the Monday night showdown coming up. You're listening to Locked On Bets. Locked On Bets continues here on a Thursday. Kevin Rogers and Lee Sterling of Paramount Sports. The Lions and the Ravens. A big game in Baltimore. Both teams lost in week 1. Both teams won in week 2. So somebody will be 1-2 after this game, barring a tie. So we'll see what happens with our lock of the day.
Open it, open it, open it. Lee has the key to the lock of the day.
Dan Campbell, John Harbaugh on the sidelines. What's going to happen, Lee? What do you like, Lions-Ravens Monday night?
Well, the Ravens got a tough schedule out of the gate. I mean, they had to play Buffalo team on the road. Division rival. I mean, wasn't a tough game, but Cleveland, division rival. And now they got this game, and then they have Kansas City on deck, and that's on the road. So I'm not saying they're peeking ahead, but it's tough. I think their defense is good, but I don't think that they're great. You saw what happened. They imploded at the end of the game. So I thought this line should have been 3.5, 4. I mean, it's at 6 now. So that's why I want to get on it right now. I think the line's going to go down. If you study Detroit and their ups and their downs, Dan Campbell, once he gets his team on a roll and they're healthy, they can stay on a roll. So they got punched in the face by Green Bay. First game, first couple drives, and they couldn't recover. Then they get their mojo back last week at home and destroyed Chicago, blowout city. Now they're going on the road, think they have something to prove. The first game didn't do anything with the pass rush. Last week, their 3 edge rushers were flying around here. And I think that they can have some success here against Baltimore. So I like their defensive line a lot. Think their cornerbacks, now that they're healthy, are making plays on the ball, and linebackers aren't bad too. So they have guys at all 3 levels, and I don't know if Baltimore has that. So 2 really good quarterbacks. Obviously, Goff is not Lamar Jackson, doesn't have that running threat. But, I mean, I think that the running backs are obviously much better for Detroit, and I think the receivers are better too. So I can make an argument that Detroit's a better team. I'm going to take the 6 points here. We're going to go the level 2 lock on a Thursday. Detroit Lions here plus the points. I have them winning this game outright, 31-28.
The Lions offense exploded last week in their win over old friend Ben Johnson, the Bears at home. So they got on track. And Baltimore, they struggled for a bit with Cleveland. Cleveland's actually been all right defensively so far, but Baltimore ended up pulling away in that game. So should be interesting to see how things unfold to close out week 3 on Monday night. So Lee, heading into a big weekend, Thursday night football in the NFL, college football tonight, and then we go into a big weekend coming up. What do you have going on at Paramount Sports?
Yeah, coming down the road, hockey's starting soon, a couple of weeks. So talk about that in the immediate future, but excited about this weekend. We have what's called the Baker's Dozen. Of all the promotions I do, I get more emails, texts, and calls about this promotion. When's the Baker's Dozen? When's the Baker's Dozen? In fact, a couple clients call it the world's famous Baker's Dozen. So it's 13 games combined Saturday and Sunday, college football and the NFL. And we've had some 12-1, had a 12-1, a couple 11-2, and 10-3 records on this promotion. Never a 13-0. That's tough to do. But we have really done well in this promotion. People love it. You can build the bankroll. It's $97. That's right. We'll call it the world's famous Baker's Dozen. That's what a few of my clients call it. 13 games, $97 this weekend. It's an immediate download, so you can get it now. You don't have to call me back on Friday and Saturday or Sunday and say, what are the games now? All ready to go. So world's famous Baker's Dozen, $97. Also, our props, player props, college football and the NFL. Only had 1 losing weekend so far there, and I think we were 1 or 2 games under 500. A couple of the other weekends practically swept the board. So you want to get the player props, you're going to get probably 10 to 12 selections there a weekend, and that's $597 through the Super Bowl. So everything's up and available. Just one place, ParamountSports.com, or call 800-400-9741.
And don't forget to like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Locked On Bets, as we keep growing the audience every single day. Also, the podcast version, Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your downloads and your podcasts. You can check us out there as well. You find Lee on X at Paramount Sports, myself at Rogers Picks. We'll be back with you on Friday to look ahead to more NFL and college football. And again, we appreciate you tuning in to this edition of Locked On Bets right here on the Locked On Podcast Network.